The rooftop bar in downtown Los Angeles buzzed with energy. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the hum of conversations mixed with the clinking of glasses. Ryan Blake leaned back in his chair, a glass of whiskey in hand, exuding the effortless confidence that came with being one of the most successful real estate moguls in the city. His tailored suit and easy smile made him the center of attention among his old high school friends, who had gathered for a casual night out. "And Ryan, you've got it all," said Eric, one of his closest friends from high school, swirling his drink. "The money, the cars, the penthouse. You're living the dream." Ryan smirked, raising his glass in a mock toast. "It's not bad," he replied casually, though deep down he felt a twinge of emptiness he couldn't quite place. The conversation shifted to their upcoming high school reunion, a much-anticipated event that promised to bring together old classmates for the first time in over a decade. "So, Ryan," Eric said with a mischievous grin, "who are you bringing to the reunion, let me guess? Some supermodel?" Laughter erupted around the table, but Ryan just shrugged. "I haven't really thought about it." "Come on," chimed in Jake, another friend. "You've got to make an entrance. You were the king of our class. Everyone's expecting you to show up with someone jaw-dropping." The group continued to joke, reminiscing about their high school days. Then Eric leaned forward, his tone turning playful. "Hey, remember Sophia Reed?" Jake burst out laughing. "Oh man, Sophia Reed, the quiet girl who always sat in the back of the class sketching in her notebook. She was so awkward." Ryan frowned slightly, stirring his drink. He hadn't thought about Sophia in years. She had been shy, reserved, and often the target of teasing. While Ryan had never joined in, he hadn't exactly stood up for her either. Eric smirked. "I heard she's coming to the reunion. You should invite her, Ryan. Imagine the look on everyone's faces if you showed up with Sophia Reed." Jake laughed harder. "Yeah, right. She's probably still the same, hiding behind her sketchbook and wearing those baggy clothes." Ryan hesitated, their words lingering in his mind. He didn't know why, but the idea intrigued him. What had happened to Sophia Reed? Was she still the same girl they remembered, or had she changed? Finally, he shrugged and smirked. "All right, fine. I'll ask her." The table erupted in cheers and laughter, but Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a joke. Later that night, Ryan sat in his penthouse apartment, the city skyline stretching out before him. The laughter and teasing from his friends still echoed in his mind. He leaned back in his leather chair, scrolling through his phone. "All right, Sophia Reed," he muttered to himself, typing her name into the Alumni group's social media page. It didn't take long to find her profile. Her picture caught him off guard. The woman staring back at him wasn't the shy, awkward girl he remembered. Instead, she looked poised and confident, her smile radiant. She was standing in front of a large painting, her hands smudged with paint, and the caption read, "Another piece for the gallery. Grateful for this journey." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Gallery?" he murmured, clicking through her profile. It didn't take long to piece together the story. Sophia was now a successful artist, running her own gallery in the city. Her posts were filled with vibrant paintings, photos of her exhibitions, and heartfelt captions about her journey. For a moment, Ryan hesitated. He wasn't sure why, but something about reaching out to her felt different. This wasn't just about proving a point to his friends anymore. He was genuinely curious about the woman she had become. Finally, he opened the messaging app and started typing. "Ryan, hey Sophia, it's Ryan Blake from high school. I know this is out of the blue, but I was wondering if you'd like to catch up sometime, maybe grab coffee?" He stared at the message for a moment before hitting send. The response came faster than he expected. "Sophia, Ryan Blake. Wow, it's been a long time. Coffee sounds great. How about tomorrow afternoon?" Ryan blinked, surprised by her quick and casual reply. He had expected hesitation or even a polite decline. Instead, she seemed open. "Ryan, tomorrow works for me. Let's meet at the Artisan Cafe at 2 p.m. Sophia. "Perfect. See you then." Ryan set his phone down, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he couldn't deny the flicker of excitement building inside him. "Or it's Sophia Reed," he said to himself. "Let's see what you've been up to." The Artisan Cafe was a cozy, upscale spot tucked away in the heart of the city. Its warm lighting and rustic decor created an inviting atmosphere, but Ryan Blake barely noticed any of it. He sat at a corner table glancing at his watch. It was 1:55 p.m., and for the first time in a long time, he felt nervous. He wasn't sure why. He had met countless people in his career, clients, investors, even celebrities, but something about meeting Sophia Reed again after all these years felt different. At exactly 2 p.m., the door to the cafe opened, and Ryan's breath caught in his throat. Sophia walked in, and she was nothing like the girl he remembered. She was wearing a sleek, tailored blazer over a simple blouse, paired with dark jeans and ankle boots. Her hair, once always tied back in a messy ponytail, now framed her face in soft waves. She carried herself with an air of quiet confidence, her posture straight and her steps purposeful. Ryan stood up, suddenly feeling underdressed despite his designer shirt and watch. "Sophia," he said, offering. She turned to him, her eyes meeting his. For a moment, there was a flicker of recognition, and then she smiled a warm, genuine smile that made Ryan's chest tighten. "Ryan Blake," she said, her voice steady and calm. "It's been a while." They shook hands and Ryan gestured for her to sit. "You look amazing," he said, unable to hide his surprise. Sophia chuckled softly, setting her bag down. "Thanks. You're not so bad yourself, though I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You were always the golden boy of our class." Ryan laughed, though her words carried a hint of something he couldn't quite place. "I guess some things don't change, but you've definitely changed. I mean that in the best way possible." Sophia tilted her head, studying him for a moment. "People change, Ryan. Life has a way of doing that." Their conversation flowed easily after that. Sophia talked about her art career, how she had started small, selling paintings at local markets, and eventually opened her own gallery. She spoke with passion about her work, her eyes lighting up as she described the joy of creating and the challenges she had faced along the way. Ryan found himself captivated. He had expected to feel in control of the conversation, but instead he was the one listening, drawn in by her story. "What about you?" Sophia asked, leaning back in her chair. "I heard you've done pretty well for yourself." Ryan shrugged, trying to downplay it. "Real estate. It's been good to me. But, honestly, hearing about your journey, it's impressive. You've built something meaningful." Sophia smiled, but there was a flicker of something in her expression. Doubt, maybe, or caution. "It wasn't easy. There were a lot of people who didn't believe in me, but I learned to stop letting their opinions define me." Ryan nodded, feeling a pang of guilt. He had never been cruel to Sophia in high school, but he hadn't exactly been kind either. He wondered if she remembered that. As the conversation continued, Ryan found himself opening up in ways he hadn't expected. He told her about the pressures of his career, the loneliness that came with success, and the feeling that something was missing in his life. Sophia listened intently, her gaze steady. "It sounds like you've achieved a lot, but maybe you're still searching for what really matters." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He nodded slowly, realizing she was right. When their coffee cups were empty and the conversation began to wind down, Ryan hesitated. He didn't want the meeting to end. "This was really nice," he said. "I'm glad we did this." Sophia smiled, standing up and grabbing her bag. "Me too, it was good to catch up, Ryan." As they walked out of the cafe, Ryan turned to her. "So, about the reunion, would you still be willing to go with me?" Sophia paused, studying him for a moment. Then she smiled. "Sure, why not? It might be fun." Ryan grinned, feeling a strange sense of relief. "Great, I'll pick you up that night." As Sophia walked away, Ryan watched her go, a mix of admiration and curiosity swirling in his mind. She wasn't the girl he remembered. She was so much more. And for the first time in years, Ryan felt like he had something to prove, not to his friends, but to himself. Over the next few days, Ryan and Sophia spent more time together preparing for the reunion. What started as casual meetings to discuss logistics quickly turned into something deeper. One afternoon, Ryan found himself standing in the middle of Sophia's art gallery. The space was bright and airy, with large windows that let in natural light. Vibrant paintings adorned the walls, each one telling a story. Ryan wasn't much of an art enthusiast, but even he could feel the emotion radiating from her work. "This one's incredible," he said, stopping in front of a painting that depicted a lone figure standing on a cliff, staring out at a stormy sea. The colors were bold and chaotic, yet somehow beautiful. Sophia walked up beside him, her arms crossed as she studied the piece. "That one's called Resilience. I painted it during a really tough time in my life." Ryan glanced at her, sensing the weight behind her words. "What happened?" Sophia hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "After high school, I struggled a lot. I didn't know who I was or what I wanted to do. I let all the things people said about me, how I wasn't good enough, wasn't pretty enough, get into my head. For a while, I believed them." Ryan felt a pang of guilt, remembering how he and his friends had never really paid attention to her back then. "But then," Sophia continued, her voice steady, "I realized I didn't have to live my life based on other people's opinions. I started painting as a way to express myself, and it became my escape. Eventually, it became my passion, and now, here I am." Ryan nodded, impressed by her strength. "That's incredible, Sophia. You didn't just survive, you thrived." Sophia smiled softly. "Thanks. But it wasn't easy. I had to learn to let go of the past and focus on what I wanted for myself." As they continued walking through the gallery, Ryan couldn't help but admire her resilience. She had faced so much and come out stronger on the other side. It made him question his own life. Later that evening, they grabbed dinner at a small Italian restaurant near the gallery. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and Ryan found himself opening up in ways he hadn't expected. "You know," he said, twirling his fork in his pasta, "I've spent so much of my life chasing success, the next deal, the next big project. But sometimes I wonder if I've been running in the wrong direction." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Ryan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I have everything I thought I wanted: money, a nice apartment, recognition, but it doesn't feel fulfilling. Meeting you again, seeing how passionate you are about your work, it's made me realize I've been missing something." Sophia studied him for a moment, her expression thoughtful. "Maybe you've been chasing what you thought other people expected of you, instead of what you really want." Her words struck a chord with him. He nodded slowly, realizing she was right. As the night went on, Ryan found himself drawn to Sophia in a way he hadn't expected. She wasn't just beautiful, she was strong, intelligent, and unapologetically herself. She challenged him to think differently, to question his choices, and to see the world in a new light. By the time they parted ways, Ryan felt a strange mix of emotions. He was excited about the reunion, but more than that, he was excited about spending more time with Sophia. As he drove home, he couldn't stop thinking about her. For the first time in years, he felt like he was finally starting to understand what really mattered. The night before the reunion, Ryan invited Sophia to join him and a few of his old high school friends for dinner. It was meant to be a casual gathering, a chance for everyone to reconnect before the big event. Sophia hesitated at first, but eventually agreed, wanting to see how Ryan interacted with the people he used to call his closest friends. The restaurant was lively, filled with laughter and chatter. Ryan introduced Sophia to the group, and she was met with polite smiles and curious glances. She could feel their eyes on her, sizing her up, but she kept her composure. As the night went on, The conversation turned to high school memories. Eric, one of Ryan's oldest friends, leaned back in his chair, a mischievous grin on his face. "Man, I still can't believe you're bringing Sophia Reed to the reunion," Eric said, his tone light but laced with something that made Sophia's stomach tighten. Ryan shot him a warning look. "Eric, don't start." "What?" Eric said, feigning innocence. "I'm just saying it's kinda wild. No offense, Sophia, but back in high school, no one would have expected this." Sophia forced a smile, but her grip on her glass tightened. "People change," she said calmly. Eric chuckled. "Oh, I know. And clearly you've changed a lot. But come on, Ryan, you've got to admit, this whole thing started as a joke, right? I mean, you were the one who said—" "Eric, enough," Ryan interrupted, his voice firm. But it was too late. Sophia's heart sank as the pieces fell into place. She turned to Ryan, her eyes narrowing. "What is he talking about?" Ryan hesitated, his expression shifting from frustration to guilt. "Sophia, it's not what you think." "Then explain it to me," she said, her voice steady but cold. Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "At first, it was just a stupid conversation with my friends. They joked about me inviting you to the reunion, and I went along with it. But that was before I saw you again, before I got to know you now. It's not a joke to me anymore, Sophia." Sophia stared at him, her chest tightening. "So this whole time, I was just some kind of dare? A way to impress your friends?" "No," Ryan said quickly. "It started that way, but it's not like that anymore. I mean it, Sophia. I care about you." Sophia stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "You know, Ryan, I thought you were different. I thought maybe you'd changed. But I guess I was wrong." "Sophia, wait," Ryan said, standing as well. But she shook her head, her voice trembling with anger and hurt. "I don't need this. I've spent too much of my life proving to people that I'm more than what they see on the surface. I thought you saw that too, but clearly, I was just another game to you." Without another word, she grabbed her bag and walked out of the restaurant, leaving Ryan standing there, stunned and regretful. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment, staring at one of her unfinished paintings. Her emotions were a whirlwind: anger, disappointment, and a deep sense of betrayal. She had let her guard down, allowed herself to believe that Ryan was different, only to find out that he had been playing along with his friend's shallow games. Meanwhile, Ryan sat alone in his penthouse, replaying the night's events in his mind. He had messed up and he knew it, but for the first time in his life he didn't care about his reputation or what his friends thought. All he cared about was making things right with Sophia. The next morning, Ryan made a decision. He wasn't going to let things end like this. He had to show Sophia that he was serious, that she wasn't just a bet or a joke to him. The night of the reunion arrived, and the grand ballroom of the hotel was buzzing with excitement. Former classmates mingled, laughing and reminiscing about old times. The room was filled with music, chatter, and the occasional awkward reunion between people who hadn't seen each other in years. Sophia stood near the entrance, her heart pounding as she scanned the crowd. She had debated whether or not to come, but in the end she decided she wouldn't let anyone or her emotions stop her from showing up. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her figure, her hair styled elegantly. If she was going to face Ryan and his friends, she would do it on her. As she stepped further into the room, heads turned. People whispered, some in disbelief, others in admiration. Sophia Reed, the quiet girl who used to sit in the back of the class, was now the center of attention. But Sophia didn't care about the stares. She was here for herself, not for anyone else. Across the room, Ryan spotted her the moment she walked in. His breath caught in his throat. She looked stunning, but more than that, she looked strong, like someone who didn't need anyone's approval. Ryan had spent the entire day rehearsing what he wanted to say to her. He knew he had to make things right, and he wasn't going to let fear or pride stop him. He made his way through the crowd, ignoring the greetings and pats on the back from old friends. When he finally reached her, Sophia turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "Ryan," she said, her tone cool. "Sophia," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I'm glad you came." She raised an eyebrow. "Why? So you can prove to your friends that you won the bet?" Ryan flinched at her words but didn't back down. "No. I'm glad you came because I need to say something. Something I should have said a long time ago." Sophia crossed her arms, waiting. The room around them seemed to fade as Ryan took a deep breath. "I messed up," he said, his voice loud enough for those nearby to hear. "I let my friends' stupid jokes and my own ego get in the way of something real. When I first reached out to you, I didn't know who you'd become. I didn't know how incredible you are. But the more time I spent with you, the more I realized how wrong I was, not just about you, but about myself." Sophia's expression softened slightly, but she didn't say anything. Ryan continued, his voice growing stronger. "You're not just some girl I went to high school with. You're one of the most talented, passionate, and inspiring people I've ever met. And I hate that I made you feel like you were anything less than that. I'm sorry, Sophia. Truly." By now, a small crowd had gathered, their conversations hushed as they watched the scene unfold. Ryan didn't care. He wasn't doing this for them. He was doing it for her. "I don't care what anyone else thinks," he said, his eyes locked on hers. "I care about you, and if you'll let me, I want to prove that I'm not the guy I used to be. I want to be someone worthy of you." The room was silent, all eyes on Sophia. She stared at Ryan, her emotions swirling. Part of her wanted to walk away, to protect herself from getting hurt again. But another part of her, the part that had seen glimpses of the real Ryan over the past few weeks, wanted to believe him. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady but soft. "Ryan, words are easy. Actions are harder. If you want me to believe you, you'll have to show me." Ryan nodded, his expression serious. "I will, I promise." Sophia hesitated for a moment, then extended her hand. "All right, let's start with a dance." A smile broke across Ryan's face as he took her hand and led her to the dance floor. The music shifted to a slow, romantic tune, and as they swayed together, the tension between them began to melt away. Around them, their former classmates watched, some whispering, others smiling. But for Ryan and Sophia, the rest of the room didn't matter. As the song ended, Ryan leaned in and said softly, "Thank you for giving me a chance." Sophia looked up at him, a small smile playing on her lips. "Don't make me regret it." Later that evening, as the reunion wound down, Ryan and Sophia found themselves sitting on the balcony, overlooking the city lights. "You know," Sophia said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I wasn't sure if I was going to come tonight." Ryan glanced at her. "I'm glad you did." She smiled, her gaze distant. "I've spent so much of my life trying to prove to people that I'm more than what they see. But tonight I realized something. I don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore." Ryan reached for her hand, his touch gentle. "You don't. You're amazing just as you are." Sophia turned to him, her eyes searching his. "And you, what are you trying to prove?" Ryan thought for a moment, then smiled. "That I can be better, for you and for myself." Sophia nodded, her heart softening. Maybe, just maybe, Ryan Blake wasn't the same man he used to be. The soft hum of chatter filled the air as guests wandered through the brightly lit art gallery. Paintings of all sizes adorned the walls, each one vibrant and full of life. The gallery was packed, and at the center of it all stood Sophia Reed, her smile radiant as she greeted visitors and answered questions about her work. It had been a year since the reunion, and Sophia's life had changed in ways she never imagined. Her art gallery had grown in popularity, and tonight was her biggest achievement yet. Her first international exhibition. Critics, collectors, and art enthusiasts had flown in from all over to see her work, and the night was nothing short of a triumph. As Sophia spoke with a group of guests, she caught sight of Ryan Blake standing near the back of the room. He was dressed in a sharp suit, holding a glass of champagne, but his eyes were focused solely on her. Excusing herself, Sophia made her way over to him, her heart fluttering slightly. "You made it," she said, her tone teasing but warm. Ryan smiled, his gaze soft. "Of course I did. I wouldn't miss this for the world." Sophia shook her head, a small laugh escaping her lips. "You know, a year ago, I never would have imagined this, any of it." Ryan tilted his head. "What? That you'd be standing here, hosting an international exhibition? Or that I'd still be around?" "Both," she admitted, her smile turning thoughtful. "But here we are." Ryan took a sip of his champagne, his expression growing serious. "I meant what I said that night, Sophia, about wanting to be better. You've changed my life in ways I didn't even know I needed, and I'm proud of you, so proud." Sophia felt a warmth spread through her chest. Over the past year, Ryan had proven himself in ways she hadn't expected. He had supported her dreams, encouraged her, and, most importantly, shown her that he was capable of real change. "And I'm proud of you too," she said softly. "You've come a long way, Ryan." He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that made her heart skip a beat. "Thanks to you." The two of them stood there for a moment, the noise of the gallery fading into the background. "So," Ryan said, breaking the silence, "what's next for Sophia Reed? World domination?" Sophia laughed, shaking her head. "Not quite. But I do have a few more exhibitions lined up. And after that, who knows?" Ryan reached for her hand, his touch gentle but firm. "Whatever it is, I'll be right there with you." Sophia looked at him, her heart full. A year ago, she never would have believed that the boy who once barely noticed her would become the man standing beside her now. But life had a funny way of surprising her. "All right," she said, squeezing his hand. "Let's see where this journey takes us." As the night went on, Sophia and Ryan stood side by side, surrounded by the art that told her story. It wasn't just a celebration of her success. It was a testament to how far they had both come. The gallery slowly began to empty as the night came to an end. Sophia stood by the large windows, gazing out at the city lights. The evening had been a resounding success, but, more than that, it felt like a turning point. A moment where she could finally look back at her journey and feel proud of how far she had come. Ryan joined her, slipping his hands into his pockets as he stood beside her. "You know," he said, his voice soft, "tonight wasn't just about your art. It was about you. Everything you've built, everything you've overcome. It's inspiring." Sophia turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "It's funny. For so long I thought I had to prove myself to everyone. But now I realize the only person I needed to prove anything to was me." Ryan nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "And you've done that, more than anyone I've ever met." Sophia smiled back, her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. "Thank you, Ryan, for everything. For believing in me, even when I didn't believe in you at first." Ryan chuckled softly. "I had a lot to prove, didn't I?" "You did," she said, her tone teasing but kind. "But you've come a long way." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of the past year settling between them. Finally, Ryan spoke. "So, what's next for us?" Sophia glanced at him, her smile widening. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. Together." As they stood there, side by side, the city lights twinkling in the distance, it was clear that their story was just beginning. Life has a way of surprising us. Sometimes the people we least expect can teach us the most about ourselves. Sophia and Ryan's journey is a reminder that growth, forgiveness, and second chances can lead to something truly beautiful. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. And remember, your story is still being written.